Horror Movie Talk is brought to you today by Bigfoot Excursions. You've heard of whale tours and guided hunting trips. Now experience Bigfoot Excursions. We can't promise you'll see a Bigfoot or tell you that anyone on our tour ever has, or even be sure of what we've seen ourselves, but we can promise you that Arnie will wake up at 3 a.m. and sneak out of his tent to make a bunch of whooping and hollering noises while shaking your tent. Bigfoot Excursions. It's mostly just Arnie yipping and flailing around at night.
Hello and welcome to Horror Movie Talk.
An opinionated and accidentally funny horror movie review show. Go, 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 go.
The stroll through the scraggly woods. He had no face! Horror!
Sabrina, don't just stare at it, eat it.
New theatrical releases always get priority.
But we also review older horror movies, both good and horrible.
Wow, that didn't sound good.
Hello, and welcome to Horror Movie Talk. I am your host, Professor David Day, the foremost expert in scare no-nos, and across the room from me sits...
Dr. Bryce Johnson. I hold his PhD in spookology.
That's right. Today, we have a great episode for you.
Do we?
I think we do. This movie is called Willow Creek. It's a little directorial effort by Bobcat Goldthwait. You might recognize him from all the crazy voices.
Recognize him?
And also Bigfoot enthusiast, question mark? But before we get into the show, you guys should check out our Facebook group full of the kindest, coolest people you'll ever meet, and just a bunch of fun conversations, videos, memes, all kinds of fun stuff going on over there. You can also find the rest of our social media on our website, horrormovietalk.com. Every second Saturday, we have a watch party on streamlounge.io. Make an account over there, and then you can watch movies with us every second Saturday of the month.
Also got a Twitch channel. David streams Dead by Daylight a lot.
Twitch.tv/horrormovietalk.
We post new episodes every Wednesday of the podcast, and if you want to leave us a voicemail, call 682-253-4468.
Still working on that Spotify deal.
Right.
Just haven't ironed out all the bugs yet.
Yep.
Not sure what's going on there.
It's going to happen anytime.
Anytime.
Yeah.
We've got a great show for you today. Like I said, we're going to be reviewing Willow Creek, a little 2013 film.
Oh shit.
We start out the show by giving a brief review and our score for the movie. Then we get into spoilers afterwards. So if you want to watch the movie without having the whole thing be spoiled, you can. We score on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being bad, 10 being good, 5 being average. And later in this episode, we won't be doing taglines, so don't worry about that.
Okay, I was just starting to write down taglines.
No, we will be doing horror or porno. A short bit of horror or porno where Bryce has to guess if... Oh, man, that's funky! Where Bryce has to guess whether or not the sound clip I'm playing is from a porn or from a horror movie.
Horror!
So, as I said, Willow Creek, we saw it, and I watched it on Vudu, but we pre-recorded this by a while, so, maybe it's somewhere else now. But
this one you've been lobbying for a while. You've mentioned Willow Creek a lot.
I mentioned it. I haven't lobbied about it. I mentioned it.
I feel like you said we should do Willow Creek a couple times.
Oh, maybe I suggested it. No, I would not say it went into the effort of lobby.
Okay.
But, in any event, it's an interesting movie, in some respects. We saw Willow Creek, and it was everything that I remember about talking to Bigfoot believers. So without any further ado, let's get into the trailer.
What do you want me to say?
Just keep talking. I gotta adjust these levels.
Check 1. My boyfriend's a big idiot. Check 1. I said that I would come on this trip to help you with your film, and it's your birthday, and we're gonna have a great time, but I'm not about to say that I believe in Bigfoot.
Hi, I'm in Willow Creek. mecca to the Bigfoot community.
He's all over the place.
Oh, there he is.
There is a thing we call the curse of Bigfoot. Your friends will all think you're crazy, and you'll spend all of your days searching for something that you never find.
I think we're getting close.
There's a lot of people back in the woods that just don't like other people into their business.
Turn that thing off.
Okay,
Lucky for me, I know another way in.
we're here.
What is my sock doing in the tree?
Oh, my God.
Look at this. Did you see this? So I may have just gotten some evidence. Did you hear that?
And that, ladies and gentlemen, was the whole movie.
Willow Creek is a found footage film focused on Bigfoot enthusiast and documentarian Jim, played by Bryce Johnson, our own Bryce Johnson, and his girlfriend Kelly. Jim and Kelly are visiting Willow Creek and the site of the original Bigfoot footage shoot, the Patterson-Gimlin film shoot. Jim has been a passionate Bigfoot believer his whole life and is super excited to make this documentary that allows him to pay homage to the epicenter of his obsession. Kelly is not as crazy about the idea, but she is very supportive of his effort and holds the camera a lot of the time. Like every new girlfriend.
Right.
My review for Willow Creek is that it's a remarkably simple film that capitalizes on everyone's fear of the woods at night. It's not the best found footage camping film. That title, I believe.
You skipped over the most important paragraph, David.
Oh, did I? Oh, while Jim interviews locals... This is back to the synopsis. While Jim interviews locals about the legend, we learn a few things about the mystery of Bigfoot before the couple take the plunge into the forest primeval and get more big feet than they bargained for. Willow Creek is a remarkably simple film that capitalizes on everyone's fear of the woods at night. Mm-hmm. It's not the best found footage camping film.
Just take a stroll through the scraggly woods.
That goes to Blair Witch, obviously, I think. I think we can agree on that. Mm-hmm. But it's so sparse and short that I really can't hate it. The direction of Bobcat Goldthwait is simple and unobtrusive, but it makes sure to pay homage to all the tropes that you might expect it to. Willow Creek knows its lane, which is cheap, bare bones, short, and mostly improvised. As long as you go into it with that in mind, it probably won't offend your sensibilities too much. If you're a person who is terrified of the woods at night, this is a fabulous way to scare yourself silly, or you could try the slightly better version of this film, which is titled Bat Country, which we released a review for back in the winter of 2019, I believe.
You can't stop here. This is Bat Country.
This is Bear Country. One of the most questionable choices in Willow Creek is the decision to make the whole movie rest on a 25-minute long single shot towards the end of the movie. Your enjoyment of the entire movie will hinge on how this shot strikes you, and strangely, it worked better on me my second viewing than on the first. The overall Willow Creek is a fun found footage movie with a nice mix of subtle comedy and spooky moments. You asked me a question while we were playing the trailer. You said you've been kind of like, where did you?
You've mentioned Willow Creek more than anyone I've ever met.
So the person who mentioned Willow Creek to me more than anyone I ever met was Joe Rogan. Back when I used to listen to his show before they went on Spotify. Huh? That's kind of weird. How that.
I mean, this guy was a real jerk.
Anyway, so yeah,
we love Spotify.
We do.
By the way,
we love.
It's really worked out for him. This Spotify exclusive. So I mean, we're really kind of lobbying for it to happen.
Yeah, but so
still got to work out a couple things.
He would hold this movie up as like, oh man, that's the Bigfoot movie, the scary Bigfoot movie, and I mean. If I'm being fair, it is the scary Bigfoot movie. There's just not a lot. The depths of Bigfoot movies quickly descends into schlock. Mm-hmm. So
there's this one, and then Suburban Sasquatch.
You mentioned Suburban Sasquatch before.
Like it's a pretty legendary, terrible B movie.
Don't tell our fans about terrible B movies, please.
Oh, no.
Don't let them know about that. Yeah, so it piqued my interest because it's found footage and it's about Bigfoot, and Joe Rogan liked it, so I was like, oh. So the first time I watched this, I was pretty high, and I just saw right through everything, and it was very unenjoyable and bland and blasé. But the second time, which was only 6 months later, I feel like I was able to view it with less skeptical, angry lens, and I found it very normal, and there were actually some parts that, like the long shot, worked a lot better my second time around, because I knew it was coming, and so it wasn't so offensive, maybe. But
you
anyway,
remember it as being much worse than it actually is.
Yes, maybe, or it might be that I was able to talk to myself during that scene and go, these are the moments that I remember from weird things happening in the woods. And they're kind of distilled into this one big long shot.
Yeah.
So I don't know. What did you think about Willow Creek?
I kind of hated it.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't super unenjoyable. It was just so lame.
Yeah.
It's the found footage movie that tried to out nothing every other found footage movie.
Out nothing.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a good way to put it. I see. I did it. If we had been reviewing this on my first viewing, I'd have been right there with you.
It's just so lame. They could have done so much, and I feel like even if you just templated it after Blair Witch Project a little bit, it would be like 10 times better than it is. We'll get into it in the spoiler section about what some of my beefs, but yeah, I mean it hinges around how lazy that 25-minute one shot is.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, okay.
Yeah.
Like, we get it.
Yeah.
It just doesn't work for me.
What's your score? What's your score for Willow Creek?
I'd give it a 3.
I knew you were going 3, but that's really a compliment. For Bryce, a 3 is the sweet spot. That's where a movie is not so unenjoyable that it's unenjoyable, but it's not so good that it's obviously,
right.
So really, a 3 from Bryce is kind of like a 7.
It's not irredeemable. It's just a bad movie.
So Bryce gives this a 7, and I'm coming in with a 6.
I give it a 3.
Yeah, I'd say this is a 6. This is, in terms of my enjoyment, boy, I think I'd have been right there on the first viewing with you on a 3. But this second viewing, I don't know. There's something.
Yeah, I don't feel like my that's so strange to me because I don't think my score fluctuates very much if it's an unenjoyable movie.
You know what it is I couldn't stop thinking about it for those 6 months. I was like, what the shit was all that? Like, what was all that shit? And I'll never think about The Conjuring 3 again. Ever. Never, ever. It's so fucking blah, 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 blah. But this one was in the back of my mind, Bigfoot. Yeah. Oh, he really liked that Bigfoot. And some of the I like the half hour of. I love the half hour of nothing that the first half hour of this movie is, where it's just light and breezy. We're interviewing people about something fun. It's very the light, easy part of the horror movie. Yeah. I love that part of the horror movies.
Yeah, there are some good things in this movie. It's not awful. It's just the direction and pacing is awful.
The direction is awful.
Yeah.
I feel like there's no direction.
Exactly. So, anyways.
That's not awful. That's just a absence of.
Yeah. Well, what's 10 out of 10?
Nightchannels.com.
You're correct.
Every time I head over to nightchannels.com, I end up buying a shirt. And with the code HMT at checkout, I get 13% off. So my wife isn't screaming she's screaming at me 13% less loud than she would if I had gone full price on that shit. And I would have, because that's how good this shit is. If you head over to nightchannels.com and just browse it for a little bit, just take the Night Channels challenge, browse it. I guarantee you it's going to enter your mind like Willow Creek entered my mind. And it's going to niggle at you and be like, God damn, there's that fucking Society shirt. There's that fucking Talking Head shirt over there, and I just know that I want it. And then a couple days later, you'll be back on there. You'll buy it, and you might as well pile some other shit in your cart, too, because you got that 13% off everything, your whole order. And they've been wonderful to us, so please support them because they support us, and you want to support us because you're listening to us and we produce a free podcast, and thank you very much. You know what? I'd also like to throw in a spot for Shudder.com. That's SHUDDER.com. Enter code HMT at checkout. Get you 30 free days of streaming horror shows, TV, bunch of original content, Shudder originals. There's so much going on streaming right now at Shudder.com. You'll piss your pants. And so, I don't know. Maybe if you're wearing a pair you like, don't head over to Shudder right now. But I guarantee you're in your gym jams and you're going to be pissing those things tonight anyway. So head on over there because Shudder's got some good shit for you to watch. And quite frankly, what else are you going to be doing tonight? You're going to be you're going to be going to Netflix and surfing through the same titles anyway. So you're listening to a horror podcast, get yourself some streaming horror content over at Shudder.com. Enter code HMT, 30-day free trial. We love them.
And after you sign up for Shudder, hop on over to patreon.com/horror movie talk and check out our different tiers. Because the more tiers you subscribe, the less tears we shed for,
That's right. That's real talk.
Having to work for a living.
Right, real talk.
You get access to, like, the big pieces are the ones that people actually care about. Is number one, the Afterpod.
Yeah, oh yeah.
You get access to
the Afterpod. Listen, if you enjoy the dynamic between Bryce and I, if you like listening to us just shoot the shit, that's all the Afterpod is, and it's all the dirty, gritty, nitty-gritty details of like, my wife did this to me, and I'm like, yeah, stupid bitch.
We got laughter, we got tears.
Like, my kid shit on the floor, and then I killed him and hid their body under the house. Like, oh my god. There's a body under. But the police will never know because they'll never pony up for the Afterpod because they don't love us like we
exactly. Do. A certain tier, you get to vote as a Patreon community on what we watch during the month. And you can also get early access to episodes and versions without ads. So you can skip this whole section. You never have to listen to me talk about Patreon again. Also want to give a plug for our shop, horrormovietalk.com/shop. If you want to get one of our logo tees.
T-shirts, coasters, stickers, fucking magnets, bro. And they were all designed by our hard fucking artist, Dustin
Goebel.
That's right. If you head on over to his Instagram at dgoebel00, that's at DGOEBEL00 on Instagram. You can check out his artwork, support him by, by buying stuff on our HMT shop or commission him for artwork and let him know we sent you. Finally, you can get a hold of us. Leave us a voicemail at 682-253-4468. You drop us a line. Let us know what you think. And thanks again for listening to us. And let's get into spoilers.
I am pregnant last 5 weeks, so can I start sex? Can oo bleed while oo are pergert?
Spoilers. So, what can you say? What can you say about Willow Creek, Bryce?
It's very, very lazy.
Very lazy. Why? And why is that?
That 25-minute shot in the tent is so, like, I can't believe
it's 25 minutes.
I can't believe it. Like, it's
of an 80-minute long movie. Like, this movie is very short. It is an hour and 20 minutes. This is barely makes it into movie status, like.
Whereas, like, other movies...
Full-length feature film, I should say.
...have things happen.
Uh-huh.
This one is literally just 3 acts where one thing happens per act.
Right.
It's like Act 1, interviews. Act 2, scared in a tent. Act 3... No, actually, I guess it would be Act 2, hiking.
Right.
Act 3, scared in a tent. And
death.
Attacked. So I guess Act 3 has 2 things that happen.
Yeah. So watch your fucking mouth. There's a little bit of a curveball that's unexplained. Like, what's the deal with the naked lady at the end? Where did she come from?
Well, it mentions a missing woman earlier in the film, and I'm like, okay, that'll be interesting. They'll explain why she went missing. And they don't.
Because Bigfoot gets hands.
I guess Bigfoot gets her. That's it.
He has needs.
Like, that's...
He has needs. She meets them.
I guess, but it doesn't...
apply directly to the forehead.
Yeah, I mean, it's so egregious in how lazy it is to where even if they did one more night, just one, it would have been like, okay. If they had gone one night in the tent and he wakes up and he's like, what was that? You hear 2 like wood clacks in the course of 5 minutes, and then nothing, and he goes back to sleep, and they wake up the next day. That's like the formula for every found footage movie that I don't understand why they didn't do that. Like, that's the allure of found footage, is the gaslighting of the first like couple iterations. Like Paranormal Activity, nothing happens, but you hear like a slow grumble.
Yeah.
Next day, nothing happens. Night. Slow grumble, and then like a candle's hit to the ground. And that's it. And then it goes to the next day. And then the next night, it progresses.
Yeah.
And it gets more interesting and menacing. Same with Blair Witch. They stay at night.
But you're drawing some weird arbitrary line where it has to be an extra night. But
no, I just want things to happen.
But that 25-minute long shot accomplishes everything you're talking about, which is it starts off far away and questionable. There's a raccoon. It's just a raccoon. There's who knows what that could be. And as it gets closer and closer and closer and less and more undeniable, it's checking all those boxes that you're talking about. It's just doing it in a not in the formula that you want it to.
Well, I mean, it's kind of important for suspense. For like there to be a release and then a suspense. It'd be basically if Jaws was 25 minutes of like a slow shot where through the perspective of Jaws, he's far away and gets progressively closer, and the music just goes dun-dun, dun-dun.
I like the performative aspect.
Dun-dun.
I like, okay, for
25 minutes.
The media is important here. Like, I like the performative aspect of this is what it is like in the tent when you hear something outside the tent. Okay, and
I just wanted more. I don't think it's too much to ask. Even if there wasn't another night, even if during the hike something happened, just anything of like...
You mean like rocks being thrown at them, or
just like, whoa. Just like, what the fuck was that?
You mean like when they were trying to go back to their car and that all that stuff happened?
Well, that was after the first night, though.
Right. There was a second night. Oh, dear.
Yeah, I guess. Like, there's not...
No, there was. There's no I guess.
I guess
the second night.
There's no... Okay, so here's the problem. It goes from questioning whether anything is there. Like, that's the point is like, is Bigfoot there? Night 1, yes.
Yeah, but it's
question answered.
Yeah, but
night 2, now it attacks. That's
right,
it.
But you're making like this arbitrary delineation of it has to be a different night. Whereas They did that. They did the thing you're talking about, which is they set it up. She's out in the woods. She's taking a piss. They hear a noise. It's not Bigfoot. It's a raccoon. And then later that same night, so like, okay, so a day didn't pass. Okay, well, it's still doing the thing.
Yeah,
You're just not happy with the way it did
it. There's not enough moments. Like it's depending on one moment, which is that 25-minute take.
No doubt. It is a bold choice. It is definitely a bold choice, and it will strike you one of two ways. And it struck me both ways. The first viewing, I had a viewing very similar to yours.
I'll tell you what. This must be one of the cheapest movies. Like, if this costs more than Blair Witch Project, what the fuck are you doing, Bobcat?
Yeah, no
like,
shit.
how could you possibly be spending more money than... Because even Blair Witch had 2 cameras.
Yeah, this here. We gotta look this up. But while we do, I'd like to regale our listeners. So I used to spend my time in the woods for my job. I was on a trail crew. I did wildland fire, all that kind of stuff. And so I was out in the Mount St. Helens, like the epicenter of Bigfoot activity, in America. There's more Bigfoot sightings around Mount St. Helens. Like, I worked at Mount St. Helens, lived outside for years, while I worked. And so if anybody had ever been exposed to Bigfoot, I'm your guy. So I have some stories that as we go through this whole thing, I'm going to pepper them in. So super found footage start. They have some funny, some just dumb little witty dialogue. Like, you think my vagina's dirty? Like, dumb stuff. And they kind of set up, there's like the guy who's like, don't do that. Don't make fun of this myth.
The creepy bookstore owner. There's a couple moments that are actually great in the beginning, and I wish they kind of pared it down a little. I think they do spend a little too much time on the interview section.
Oh, for sure.
That's kind of like what, again, I'm going to be comparing this to Blair Witch because it's literally the same movie.
Right.
But the moments that are great are the cut to creepiest bookstore owner that has like the Kubrick eyes throughout the entire interview.
That dude is so alarming to look at. You're just like, ew. And he explains the Bigfoot the curse of Bigfoot. Mm-hmm. What's the curse of Bigfoot?
I don't know. I don't remember.
It's you talk about Bigfoot all the time.
Everything. Yeah, you could become obsessed and lose everything because you're an idiot.
Right.
So there's that interview, which worked great. And then the interview with the old man. It was like, tell us about the time that you experienced Bigfoot. And then it ends up being just a very, very sad story of how his dog died.
Yeah.
With like, didn't you say it could have been Bigfoot? Oh, yeah, I mean, I guess it could have been anything. I'm not sure. Could have been any other. I'm just sad. And then I lost my dog.
Yeah, he got ripped in half. It's real sad. And you're like, God damn. And then there's this old lady who's like, hey, do you believe in Bigfoot? Like, she's standing there pretending to jerk off the statue of Bigfoot. And the old lady's like, excuse me, can I help you? And they're like, can we interview you? And she's like, yeah. And they're like, so do you believe in Bigfoot?
And she works at like the Bigfoot like novelty store.
Do you believe in Bigfoot? Oh, heavens, no.
Have you ever had anything happen? No.
Sweetie.
What if you came across Bigfoot? Yeah, he doesn't exist, so it probably wouldn't happen. So I don't know.
I'd make it through, I'm sure. Yeah, so they have all these interviews, and they're kind of quaint and charming, and also like varying degrees. And there's this guy, but my favorite part is the Harbinger dude, right? He's like talking to Bigfoot. He's like putting the mic. He's like, Mr. Foot, what do you think about blah, blah, blah? And then this guy comes up and he's angry and he's like, don't do that. It's real, Don't fuck around with this. And they just totally ignore the Harbinger.
Yeah.
Like the trope is there.
Right.
And I like that a lot.
Yeah. And then they make their way to the actual like forest. And then there's another Harbinger where he's like, He's
Get
like
outta here.
the
Go on.
angry redneck that's like, get the fuck out.
Yeah, get the fuck out. But also throughout this thing, we have our protagonists, girl and boyfriend. By the way, the boyfriend is the broiest bro that ever broed, playing a normalish kind of guy, which is a weird choice.
Why do you call him the broiest bro that ever broed?
Look at him. He's like a tall. What's that little guy who replaced? He replaced the dude who did who does the New Year's Eve parties.
Oh, like Ryan Seacrest?
He's like a tall, beautiful Ryan Seacrest. He's like a taller version of Ryan Seacrest, who I guess is very short. So
I guess. I don't know. It didn't hit me at all.
But anyway, so they talk frequently about, like, they do this thing where they throw all the...
Yeah, there's a lot of repartee that works pretty well. Like, that part of the writing is good. Like, it follows the trope and it works. And it's good for, like, setting up exposition and like, setting up everything. And then it just never delivers on anything.
I like the part where he's constantly trying to explain to her how Bigfoot could be real, and she's like, that's fucking stupid. Like,
right.
He's like, new species are found every year. Like, because I have arguments with people all the time. I don't believe Bigfoot exists.
Right.
I'm almost 100% certain that Bigfoot does not exist. Why? Because I lived in the damn forest where Bigfoot supposedly exists the most.
Did you hear wood clacking against each other?
I do have a Bigfoot story for you. But she's like, yeah, like protozoa get discovered every year, not fucking 9-foot tall bipedal monsters walking through the wood, apes. Like, they don't discover those every year. They discover little tiny capuchin monkeys, you know, like,
yeah.
And she's like, you know, why didn't, this is my thing. Bryce, do you believe in Bigfoot? No. Just a hard no? Like, there's no room.
It's almost like I have so little care. It just does nothing for me. It's like maybe it used to when I was a kid, of like things that I'm not aware of exist. Like Bigfoot and Loch Ness Monster, of like, there's these pictures, and then eventually you realize, like, there's a reason why there's only one.
So jealous of people who have that mind space where they're like, they're still able to do that thing that we did as kids.
Right.
Where it's like, yeah, but maybe.
You'd think the fact that, I mean, think about every disaster that's happened in the last, like, 10 years, how there's multiple angles of it.
Yeah.
From people that just have their phone out, taking a video just randomly. It's not like they're videoing the thing. Sometimes it's just like,
looking out across the bay.
Yeah, looking out across. It's crazy.
Yeah.
How many of those there are.
Yeah.
And like you would think.
Not only that, but the proliferation of trail cameras over the last 10 to 20 years, and the cheapness that you can get them at, they are everywhere in the woods.
Yeah.
Not a single fucking picture, dude.
Yeah.
Not a single picture. Just damning. But people never.
But they might have stealth ability. They might have cloaking ability, David.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. That's when you get older, you realize, like, oh, that's how that works. There's always the people that want it to be a thing find reasons for why it could be a thing. They like reverse engineer it.
Yeah.
Just like this guy did, and it's like, well, why haven't we discovered any bones or a body of this Bigfoot, this giant 9-foot biped? Like, well, maybe they bury their dead.
Maybe they bury their dead. Oh, and we don't discover the bones of things that are buried all the time? We do that. I mean, we know about dinosaurs, right?
Yeah. So, yeah. So that's the other thing that, like, the other, not just like another night of things happening, but other things that they set up and never deliver on. Like, in the interview with the bookstore owner, I think, one of the interviews, they're like, oh yeah, lots of stuff happens. Like, you got bears, you got like hillbillies there, locals, and just mean people, and you got like just all these different options of what could be nefarious in the woods.
Yeah.
And it's never delivered on. It's the only threat in the entire movie is, the only actual threat in the movie is Bigfoot.
Right.
Like, they don't have an appearance of, like, how awesome would it be if they did a appearance of, you remember that story you told about going to the cabin with your friend and the random guy showing up asking to drink your booze?
Wait. No.
Or...
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have so many stories like that.
Yeah.
The stories I have of people showing up in the woods are fucking... There's so many. There's so many.
Like, if they just had 2 or 3 of those moments of, like, oh, look, we saw a bear. Like, shit, just be still. Don't do anything. And then wait till the bear leaves. Like, that would be a moment. If they did another moment where the guy that tried to stop him at the trail found him again.
Yeah. No,
that
you're
would be
right.
another moment.
You're
like,
right.
all these things that were set up that never delivered on, what was delivered was one shot. And that's it.
Right. No, I in total agreement.
All right.
Oh, man. So, okay. Do you want some stories here real quick? Just quick story time?
Yeah.
Because there's not a lot to this movie. We could be done with this.
Yeah, I mean, I'm done already.
So, okay. So, I have so many occurrences in the woods of weird shit. One time...
You told some of these on the Afterpod, by the way.
One time in the middle of winter... in the fucking middle of winter, Carrie and I were headed up to my parents' cabin, which is way up in the Gifford Pinchot in the woods. They have sold it since, but it was snowing. It was almost white out. We're in the middle of the Gifford Pinchot, like up in there. And we're coming around this corner and snowing, almost white out, like I said. My headlights, as I'm coming around this corner, hit this dude in a wife beater walking down the hill, and we just pass him. It was like we get to Mississippi. I've seen this dude who's just walking through the forest in like jeans and a wife beater, and we're like, what the shit is that? No explanation. He was legitimately 15 miles from a house in the middle of the woods, walking down a nothing road. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, we were 35 miles from where we needed to go.
Was there any offshoot of the road? Like any trails or anything?
No. We were in a dead zone, kind of. Like, this dude had a long walk ahead of him, and he was creepy looking. Like, he was methed up or something. Like, it was alarming.
Wow.
That was one. My buddy and I, a year or two ago, were again, white out, like snowing in the middle of winter. We went up to this one shelter in the middle. There's this dude who I assume was on PCP, snowmobiled up to the cabin and like had a gun and just was like, hey, you guys got any booze? And he was so aloof.
I don't remember you mentioning the gun before, but that adds some.
It was just like, he didn't, the only reason I knew he had a gun is because he, like, brushed it. Like, he would touch it frequently. And I was like, what is he touching? And, like, another time where I basically met a schizophrenic person with my same buddy just on the trail, and he talked to us about, like, he's like, you know what they say I have? We're like, what? He's like, schizophrenia. I was fired from my job for sexually assaulting my boss, who's a man. We were like, what? He's bigger than us. Is he going to sexually assault us? Like, he's schizophrenic. Like, but
this guy was a real jerk.
Yeah, that guy was super creepy because he could have taken either of us. So
wasn't the guy that showed up with a gun at the shelter, didn't he like call all of his friends or something like that?
Yeah, he's like, oh, I'll be back. We'll be back to party with you guys
that's right.
in a little bit. And then he just rips on down the trail. We're like, well, time to leave. Time to go find a new place to sleep at 1 a.m. in the snow. Like, okay. Anyway, so the Bigfoot one, though, the one that I equate to the closest to being to Bigfoot is we were working on Mount St. Helens on a trail in the devastated area of the blast zone of Mount St. Helens. And you're not supposed to camp out there, but we're a trail crew, and so we had the right to do so.
Yeah, the dispensation to be able to camp there.
Right. And so we got, but with the bookmark of get off the trail so the public doesn't see that this is a thing that you should be doing.
Right.
So we got way off the trail, down into this valley. No one knew where we were. There was no reception, either radio or otherwise. And we went to sleep. Totally normal. In the middle of, I'd say 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. In the middle of the night, all of us were awoken by a sound that went like something like this. It was high pitched. It was something that said yowie, very loud, and it was very close. It felt like it was within 50 feet.
Yeah.
And all of us woke up. There were 4 of us there. All of us woke up, and I could hear us all wake up. You know, I was like, I hear Kelsey moving. I hear Grant moving. I hear Adrian moving. I was like, what? I said out loud, what the fuck was that? Because we're all in different tents. Was that one of you guys? Everybody was like, no. I get out my tent. It's totally socked in. We're in a cloud. And I have this beam on my headlamp that's really bright. But when you're in a cloud, it just kind of lights up white. Mm-hmm. And all I can see is maybe 50 yards in any given direction. And I could not see anything. And I couldn't hear anything. But it was so spine-chillingly strange and such an odd sound.
So what's your theory about what it was?
I think it's either a vixen fox, like in Heat, or more likely a cougar.
Yeah.
Cougars make some wild noises.
Yeah.
I mean, if you...
Like screaming women.
Screaming women, crying babies. They sound like crying babies a lot. If you haven't looked up YouTube videos of cougars making vocalizations, they are.
Yeah.
But that's as close to Bigfoot.
I feel like a coyote makes yowling sound sometimes.
Yeah, but there's usually a lot of them. There's not just a single loud whoop.
Yeah.
You know? Anyway, so we get to this 25-minute long shot of just them sitting in a tent, sitting up.
Listening.
And like, kind of like back and forthing between each other of like, he's like, look, bitch, I told you. Like, it's real. Like, I'm not going outside. And this shot works now for me because I was like, as I was watching it, I was like, this is exactly what it's like. You're in a tent with your buddy or your girlfriend or, your boyfriend, and you're like...
See, it doesn't make any sense for me. You're out there to look for Bigfoot, and you hear the first, like, clacking or the yelping in the distance. How would you not immediately get out of the tent and be like...
I would.
Just, like, big eye it.
Oh, dude,
like, try to find it.
People who don't camp would not. Like... and there have been moments when, I camp a lot. There have been moments where I'm in my tent and I am frozen. Like, frozen. Because I'm like, this is a bear. This is a bear right next to me. I'm definitely not getting out of my tent. So last year, I had a bear right next to my tent. Because I had been throwing chicken bones off into, like, just down a little ravine next to me, and it was like snuffling them up, and it was 10 feet away from me. I was like, I'm not moving. There's no way I'm spooking this thing.
Yeah. So I have a question for you, because I know that you're a very light sleeper, because you've told me.
Yeah.
That, like, if there's any sound in your house, you're up.
Yeah.
In an instant, and like, grab the bat and go searching. Like, that's your
Don't grab a
impulse,
spear
right?
and grab a bat.
And I know you're an avid camper, and those two just don't jive with me. Like, how could you get any sleep in the woods?
This is a great question. It's because I know what's in the woods here. I know what the sounds are. I know what they are. And I know what to be afraid of and what not to be afraid of. And there was a long period where those two things didn't meet because my experiences didn't. So it was hard for a while to get used to the woods. But now I'm very used to the woods, and now
Interesting.
I know what certain sounds are.
So even subconsciously. Because I'd feel like any sound would wake you up, and then you'd listen to it again and be like, oh, it's just that.
There's no nefarious intent to things in the woods aside from potentially bears. But the bears around here are just big raccoons. They're scared of everything.
Yeah, but you got a lot of experience with humans that are scary.
The humans in the woods are the scary part. They're definitely the scary part.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you can never tell what they're going to do.
So just take a stroll through the scraggly wood.
But anywho, there's this, and this is not hyperbole. Like, we're not joking. It is 25 minutes.
It is supremely long.
And it's whooping and hollering and hitting the tent occasionally. Yeah, it's a bold move to make your whole movie hinge on this one scene.
Yep.
And it didn't work for Bryce.
And I mean, Bobcat wrote and directed this, right?
I don't know if he wrote it. Let's see here.
But even if it's just direction, like that's...
All the throaty noises in this movie are Bobcat, though. I'll have you know. Yeah, he wrote and directed it, yeah.
Wouldn't it be great if it was like 80s Bobcat Goldthwait noises?
Yes, all his sound effect. Just like... Oh, man. Hang on. Yeah, so... Then
they're in the tent and they're like, what is that? In the distance they hear, it's nice to be here. I'm like, what was that?
It's Bobcat Goldthwait. He's directing this movie. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just like, it's so... I can't believe someone would direct a movie and just be like, yeah, let's just have nothing happen or the camera change position for half of it.
There's a shocking twist at the end of
this. Maybe it's since he was making the noise, he couldn't do any directing for the scene because he was off in the woods making noise.
It's like, how am I going to direct it? I have to go make the noise.
Right.
I got to do everything for you people.
Right.
Yeah. So I mean, in the end, they can't. You know, there's vocalizations during the day. They're walking in circles. They hadn't followed a trail in. This is all basic stuff. Don't if you're not on a trail, and you don't know how to like navigate through the woods, don't do that. It's very basic stuff. Don't do that stuff. And they did all the don'ts.
And then the other basic is, if you are lost in the woods, if you're not on a trail, what do you do, David?
Well, you bend over and you hope Bigfoot likes the look of your butthole because he'll keep you alive.
You listen for water.
Right.
You find a creek and you follow it.
You follow that creek.
That's it.
That's the bottom line. And it can take you a while to find a creek in some places.
Yeah. No matter how small the creek is, follow it down and you'll find civilization.
Yep. Eventually, because no matter how small that trickle is, it goes into a bigger trickle as you go downhill. Yep. And then that goes into a bigger trickle, and then that turns into a creek and a river, and then eventually that'll lead you somewhere. Probably to a road where you can sit and be like, there will be a car that comes down this road. Yeah. So Jim never loses his enthusiasm as they're trying to escape the forest. He's picking up things, and she's like, Jim, are you fucking kidding me? And then there's a naked woman in the woods, inexplicably, who I assume is being kept for rape purposes. Bigfoot rape purposes?
She was crying. You could hear her crying, so she wasn't having a good time. A
lot of the Native American myths regarding Bigfoot, each tribe has their own Bigfoot myth and their own, like, story about how he is and how he came to be, and a lot of them involve a very sexualized rapist. Yes. One of them has a dick so long that it uses it it'll show up across the river from young squaws and fish its dick down through the whole river and then rape her on the other side. Not a joke. That is a Bigfoot myth. Wow. So, it's true.
So Bigfoot is really like just the personification of like Harvey Weinstein. In the woods. Sorry. Go ahead.
Final recommendations. You don't say
No. It's awful.
Will you go back to this ever?
Hell no.
Never?
No.
I think it's kind of like...
It's so... The other thing is that I actually like some of Bobcat Goldthwait's other movies. Like, some of his other movies are legit, like, impressive.
Really? Like what?
World's Worst Dad is a great movie.
Really?
And that's one of Robin Williams' best roles, in my opinion. Mostly because it's such a ballsy topic. Because
Really?
it's the story behind it is this father-son dies, and the son is just the worst. He's just the worst in every way.
Yeah.
Like, it's kind of like we need to talk about Kevin, but not like psychopathic, but basically psychopathic, but not like going to go on a school rampage or anything.
Okay.
But just a horrible dick to everyone and everything. Just a deplorable human being. And the son dies, and all of a sudden everyone's like,
he was so great,
mourning and saying how great and how many friends he had, and how heartbroken his close friends were that never did anything with him. And it was a tragedy because he committed suicide. But the real story is that it was a death by erotic asphyxiation or autoerotic asphyxiation.
Oh, this sounds like Bad Santa levels of
his
awkwardness.
Yeah. So he like walks in and sees his son dead, like hanging in his closet masturbating. And like, that's when he writes a suicide letter to like save face for his son. And all of a sudden it
takes off.
Reveals. Yeah. Which, now that I think of it, may be the basis for the musical Dear Evan Hansen. Anyways, it's actually really good dark comedy. And Bobcat is really good at that lane.
Yeah.
Of like going there.
Super dark.
And just staying there. So I mean, you see it in like little glimpses with the old guy that's like just talks about his dog dying.
Yeah.
And just holding that for just the feeling of like, oh
yeah, I feel bad.
Yeah.
So with that, let's get into horror or porno.
Horror porno.
I love the little bass where it's like between the big strums, he's got the little, that's like the little accent. There's a little. Anyway, horror or porno is a game where I force Bryce to guess whether the clip that I'm playing is from a horror movie,
Horror,
or a porno.
Can I see one today?
Oh, yeah. So, without any further you play along at home, let us know how you do by calling some number that we have. Here is our first clip. Bryce, is this a horror movie or a porno movie?
Oh, yeah, rub them pussy juices all over your fucking mouth. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, stick your tongue right out. Let me see that fucking tongue. Yeah, rub them fucking pussy juices all over that tongue. Oh, I need to get my pussy soaking fucking wet. Oh, yeah.
Okay, is that a horror movie or is that a porno?
That is a horror movie.
Oh. She was talking about pussy juices a lot and like sticking your tongue out and putting your...
Yeah, I think I no, hold on. So it's definitely a horror movie, and it's Stephen King's Sleepwalkers.
Oh, wow.
The one with all the cats.
I'm not going to lie to you, Bryce. I am super impressed because I can't believe you pulled that out. That is such an obscure deep take. 2 points.
Yes.
You got not only... Okay, so this is I should have explained. So the game works. You get 1 point for guessing correctly horror or porno, and you get another point for guessing the title. And Bryce did both. Wow. Pulling it out there.
I've really been studying for this.
Yeah, pulling it out in horror porno. Okay, here is our next clip. Is this a horror movie or a porno?
God, I've not had cock for so fucking long, can't you tell?
So Bryce, would you say that's a horror movie or a porno?
Oh, wow.
I love how challenging this game is. It's you don't realize how close they are.
Yeah. See, I'm going to guess a horror movie.
Okay, and walk us through this. Walk us through your thought process.
There's a lot of juicy sounds and a lot of it feels like goopy.
Yeah.
Choking, maybe a little torture. So I'm going to go Hellraiser 2.
Wow. So you've got the time frame pretty close. Well, not that close, I guess. I was thinking Hellraiser. It is a horror movie, so you got another point. This is Evil Dead. Yeah. Sorry.
We just reviewed it.
Yeah, 81.
Damn.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, so you do have 3 points now, though. This is very impressive. We have 3 more clips. So here is the next one. Is this a horror movie or a porno?
Assume the position.
How much longer do you think he's going to keep us out here?
It could be all night. The guy gets his rocks off like this. Hangs around queer S&M joints downtown. He likes pretty boys like you. Get out of here.
What? Was that a horror movie or a porno?
Look at all that young, fresh chicken.
Wow.
Yeah. It's tough.
I feel like that's a horror movie.
Okay.
It feels like all of them are horror movies. I feel like you're trying to trick me.
I'm not. Well, I mean, that's the beauty of the game. I am trying to trick you.
And I have no idea what movie it is. I'll guess Friday the 13th, Part 4.
I'm sorry, Bryce. That is a porno. No points awarded. This is Homo Alone.
Okay.
Yeah, Homo Alone. And I did a lot of research on that one. I was balls deep into that one. Here's our next clip. Is this a horror movie or a porno?
Jesus Christ! You scared the shit out of me, man. Hey, what are you doing? The fuck you doing in my room?
I need you to let me stay here tonight. Something is trying to get inside my body.
Yeah, and she's female and she's waiting for you in the cabana. And you want to sleep with me.
He's inside me. He's inside me, and he wants to take me again.
Wow.
Yeah. It's provocative. It gets the people going.
I don't know. It feels like I should know this. It really rings a bell. Like a recent review.
It does feel that way.
That we've done.
Well, if I'm doing my job, that's how it's going to feel.
I'm sorry. I'm going to have to... every single guess has been horror movie, but I'm going to have to go horror movie again. And that's definitely Nightmare on Elm Street 2.
Ooh. Wow. Look at you. That's correct. Another 2 points.
Wow. So I win the game.
Points. Oh, you definitely win the game. Yeah. But we got one last...
Okay.
We got one last clip here. Is this a horror movie or a porno?
I will happily fuck your ass. But first, I want you to come here and suck this. Yes. Yeah.
When he goes, I love that.
I will happily fuck your ass.
But first.
I'm pretty sure that's a porno.
Okay, go on.
And
go on. Yeah.
I don't know the name of the porno, but I feel like that guy is Rocco Siffredi.
I'm sorry, Bryce. This is a horror movie. This is Wrong Turn. The new Wrong Turn. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Yep. So there it is.
All right. Well, that's pretty graphic for a horror movie.
Bryce wins this round of horror porno. If some of those clips sounded familiar to you, that's the way I'm doing my job right. So congratulations to me for putting together another fabulous game of horror or porno. If you guys had a great time with this episode or any episode of Horror Movie Talk, please consider sharing it with a friend. We have so many cool listeners everywhere around the world. I'd like to say a big shout out to our people over there in Great Britain, in Canada, and in Australia. Y'all are just astonishing to me that we have such a big reach, and I thank you. Thanks for listening and supporting the show. Great Britain, man, you people really show up in droves to support us, and I appreciate you. So, like I said, share us with a friend. That helps us a ton. If you leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, that helps us out a lot. And of course, you can support us by supporting our sponsors or heading over to our Patreon, shopping at our store, all that good stuff. With that, thank you very much for listening to this episode. If you'd like to give us a call, call us at 682-253-4468. Have a wonderful week. We love you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Looking for a podcast full of burps and gas, perverted cast, skinny and fat? Look no further. Horror Movie Talk is accidentally funny, begs to donate money, fake sponsors for dummies, and so much more. New episodes every hump day. They'll pickle your dickle for foreplay. Patreon members have it your way. Vote for a movie every month for the review. Choppa choppa, don't just stare at it, eat it like a taco. Put your tongue through the phone hoodie, Picasso. Look at them hot kids, swear not a pedo. Got me too'd with Cosby eating jello. Pudding Pops done gave Bryce flatulence. Drain addict Dave doesn't give a shit. 1 through 10, is it horrible or excellent? Oil me up, daddy, is dinner rum. Sun kiss, Bryce Hansen. Look at them hot kids, Chris Henson. Masturbate with a crucifix, exorcist. Face huggers, chest bursters, alien. Linda Blair peed on Sigourney Weaver. I know it's true cause it came from social media. Patrick Bateman can't understand you. Stab you to death for rotten apple reviews. Opinionated podcaster with a doctorate. Spookology, doctor of philosophy. Bad gastritis, need colostomy. Turn Patreons into human centipedes. David Doobie Day, scare no expert. And Global fucks hard, professional sexpert. Afterpods, taglines, and porno flicks. American Psycho, them guys pretty sick. Choppa choppa, don't just stare at it, eat it like a taco. Put your tongue through the phone hoodie, Picasso. Look at them hot kids, swear not a pedo. Got me too'd with Cosby eating jello. Pudding Pops done gave Bryce flatulence. Drain addict Dave doesn't give a shit. 1 through 10, is it horrible or excellent? Oil me up, daddy, is dinner rum. Nothing good happens in the woods. Always get more than you bargained for. Got a pickle to dickle, machines tickle biddies. Killer on the phone, ain't no sharing stove. Vancouver, Portland, Oregon, and organs. Corona, COVID, curse, Lorona. Green River Killer, because reasons. Hallway of poop monster kids screaming. Ain't your ordinary dingleberry itinerary. 30 days shutter and jump scares, they fucking scary. Time for the spoilers with jokes and tropes. Use their white socks to catch their loads. Just show them one titty, pretty. Paganism you should worship, they Teflon dicks. Pacific Northwest, let them see one breast. Shifty ass, stay spooky, poor man's digress. Bugsy, HMT, Horror Movie Talk. Hold on, they don't like Halloween.
I just take a stroll through the scraggly woods?